Your unique story, our global audience. Global One Media.
Welcome to our exclusive one-on-one Stocks to Watch series, where we introduce you to small and mid-cap company executives with exciting missions. This is an opportunity for you to make informed investment decisions. I'm Ashley Berry, and today Terry Lynch, CEO and president of Power Nickel, is here with us, Canada's next high-grade, low-carbon nickel mine. They're listed on the TSX Venture Exchange as PNPN, the OTCQB as PNPNF, and the Frankfurt Exchange as IVVI. Terry, it's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Great to be with you again, Ashley. Good to see you again.
Yes, absolutely. So perhaps you could start by giving us a brief overview of Power Nickel, the world's first carbon neutral nickel mine, your mission and vision, and of course, the story behind its inception.
Yeah, so basically, we've got this amazing discovery in NISK, and it's near Namaska, Quebec, which is sort of center of the Quebec province in Canada. Probably Quebec is arguably the greatest spot in the world to be looking for critical minerals today for a number of reasons. The government's done an amazing job of creating some incentives there that make that work. And we've had a lot of drilling success. So that's, pushed us, we had a historical resource of about 3.1 million tons of 1.6% nickel EQ. And we've drilled about 15,000 meters, had a lot of drilling success. We're expecting to update our 43101 this fall in late Q3, early Q4, probably go to 100,000 contained tons of nickel, sort of 8 to 10 million tons, and that would be enough to make it commercial. And we're seeing a lot of obviously industry interest in this, because this is just the first pod in what could be a very big development. Obviously, that's enough to be exciting in of itself, but this reason to believe this is just the start of what could be a very big nickel discovery story, and then ultimately a class one refined nickel product story that we'll talk about in a second.
Yeah, to go commercial, the numbers you give, pretty significant, Terry. Maybe you could walk us through the current exploration properties specifically and the deposits they potentially contain, and of course, their advantages.
Yeah, the biggest thing with nickel is generally nickel, there's really nickel sulphides and nickel laterites. So the laterites you'll find more in Southeast Asia and somewhat in Cuba. They're 0.5 to 0.7% typically nickel, usually close to the surface. The big negative about them is they require a fair bit of work to harvest the nickel. So it's quite considered a quite CO2 intensive process. And depending on where you're at, obviously, if you're in the tropical rainforest, it gets complicated because this process creates a lot of outflow that is hard for the environment to process, especially in a wet one. And then you have in the sulfide space, you really have high grade and low grade. So low grade, there's a number of low grade deposits in our country, in Canada. Canada Nickel, Giga Metals, a few others like that, 0.2 to 0.3%. Obviously, have big tonnage but low grade, so it takes a lot of capex to bring into the market. And then you have high grade nickel sulfide. So think of Raglan in Quebec, Voisey's Bay. These are the types of Lynn Lake in Manitoba. So they range probably sort of 20 to 50 million tons. Well, now Voisey's is more than 50. And so we're in that category where we're more than 1% nickel. So it becomes much more lucrative to mine and much cheaper to get in production. So, and it produces a class one nickel product that is going to be needed for the nickel battery business. And so that's ultimately what's driving, nickel is driven by two things: urbanization, which is stainless steel. So as people are moving from villages to cities and towns, they're buying more pots and pans, fridges and stoves. That's stainless steel. So that's 70% of the nickel market growing 6% compound annual growth rate. And then now batteries are about 10% of the nickel market, expected to grow to 50% over the next several years. And that's obviously because of electric vehicle revolution. So that's what's driving this whole interest in that space right now.
You totally read my mind, Terry, because I was thinking, for those that may not know what nickel is used for, and you really broke it down so perfectly. So thanks for that, because that's so helpful. And it is such an important mission that you're doing right now. Of course, with a successful operations, there are strong partnerships. So maybe we can talk a little bit about the government support when it comes to facilitating your exploration operations specifically, and how it helps you leverage advancements more effectively.
Yeah, the governments, we often criticize the governments, and duly so in some cases, but certainly on the critical mineral strategy in Canada, they've done a great job federally and provincially. So right now, it's possible in Quebec to basically explore and really get at least 2-for-1 exploration. So what happens is, we've done, a number of deals where, the stock would be, 25 cents, and we would sell the stock at 50 cents. And the tax breaks that would be given to the investor would allow it still to make economic sense for them. And so we would get the 50 cents in cash to go drilling, and they would effectively invest 25 cents. So that really works for everyone. Now the same thing has been applied to the ultimately building of the mines. So the federal government will provide a 30% tax credit, and the Quebec government up to 25%. So almost 55% of your mine development costs will be handled by the way of tax credit that you can turn to cash. So the governments have certainly been done their part, and now it's time really for the free market to deliver its part. And there's really two parts of the free market. There's the investment on the exchanges and what happens there, and then there's the industry itself. And so today, when we announced, that CVMR was basically enabling us to move to a full feasibility study at NISK, that's an example of industry now stepping forward and stepping up and being part of the solution and making these projects to happen.
Oh, terrific! Certainly sounds like a win-win, and great to hear about the support system there. Maybe you could touch a little bit on the top risks you're currently facing, if any, and kind of the strategies you take to either overcome them, or what do you put in place to move forward?
I mean, the number one issue in any mining company is, the ore, the grade itself. So you need grade and quantity. So obviously it's all about having the right exploration techniques to make sure you deliver the goods there. So we seem to be managing that risk very well. Often community risk is a big problem in mining. So you have to have good community relations and choose to explore in areas that are pro-mining. So, one of the great things about Quebec is that Quebec is very pro-mining as a province. And then within Quebec, they've done a great job of working with the Aboriginal communities to help them understand in a partnership way how they can benefit, in their local communities from welcoming the mines and working with them. And so, for example, we're up in northern Quebec. So the James Bay Cree are our Aboriginal partner, and we do a lot of business with them. Our drillers stay at their really nice resort lodge up there. We'll do a lot of work with them, and so that's a way for them to get high value paying jobs and keep their community intact and at home. And so that's a big part. And of course, the other thing is infrastructure. Often, mines are found in the most difficult places because the easy ones have already been found, of course. But in this case, we're lucky in that our project is located off of Route North. So you can literally drive off a 3-lane highway right to the road, right to our site. Across the road is a Hydro-Quebec substation. We're 8 kilometers outside the town of Namaska, which has got an airport. So the infrastructure is there. So we're very blessed in that way. So there's a lot of the usual boxes you'd look to tick. The community risk, the infrastructure risk, and then, social license, et cetera. And then, of course, financing risk is probably the biggest risk you have in a mine, and basically financing both exploration and then ultimately development. And we've been blessed because of the structures in Quebec allow exploration mining finance to be raised with this 2-for-1 structure we talked about earlier. And then now, because of the incentives, we're able to attract, again, with the deposit, with all these other things, you're able to get a lot of industry interest in Quebec that you may not otherwise get because of this whole package of things. So we've already done that, and that was our big news today that we put out. We're now moving towards a feasibility study with one of the leading nickel producers in the world, and that's great for a number of ways for us. Obviously, it substantiates that it's not just Terry and his mad team saying, hey, this is a great deal, you should get in. It's just like industry saying, they're a private company. This is they sort of see the benefits of what this could do for them. And, now we're looking forward to advancing that forward. So that's really big news for us.
It really sounds like you have all the pieces in place for something that could be very big, terrific opportunity for scalability. Terry, what excites you the most, and how do you encourage potential investors to get interested in your company?
Yeah, I think that, today's announcement is sort of a seminal day for us because it's really, it's sort of industry saying, hey, we think this is going to be a commercial mine. And the biggest opportunity in any investment in a mining company is when you go from being an exploration play to being a commercially perceived exploration play. That's the 0 to 1 moment. So that's really sort of what sort of happened here today. So that's a big moment, I think, and hopefully shareholders will recognize that. And that'll be a sort of a groundswell opportunity for them. So I think that's critical because it's one thing to sort of pound the table yourselves. It's another thing to have industry put significant money at risk to say this is what they're going to do. So I think that's a compelling one to take education from that. And that would be our advice to our shareholders is that we think this is we've been saying this for some time. The evidence is strongly supportive because of our drill holes being so successful. And now industry coming up, it's like, 1 and 1 and 1 and 1, you start to add it up. It becomes quite a good math formula for you as a shareholder. So that's what we're suggesting for our shareholders today.
Fantastic. And for those that may have not had an opportunity to read the press release, can you give us just 2 lines about what specifically happened and why you're so excited?
So CVMR Corporation, which is one of the world's leading makers of nickel powders, nickel wire, nickel anodes, has basically made facilitated an investment in Power Nickel such that they'll do a full feasibility study on the project. So we'll advance through a number of different studies and hopefully at the end prove that this will be an economic project to develop. They're a world leader in that space. They do such things as because it's not like Coca-Cola because nickel companies aren't branding experts, right. But what they do, for example, they in Sudbury we have the Super Collider, which is a pretty famous installation for scientific research. So they had $10 million nickel tubes made of 5.9 purity. These guys made them. The U.S. $100 bill, you're a U.S. citizen, Ashley, so you know that it's printed with nickel plates that these guys made. So it obviously to get to do that type of business, you have to be some kind of company. So they've got 18 plants around the world. And what this does for us by working with people like CVMR is they obviously are looking to continue to expand their business. And they need a North American supply chain. So they identified that this is a spot that they think that could happen. And that would allow us to get into that finished products business ultimately, which is really where the money is. Like it's funny in nickel, nickel miners make X, the nickel refiners, the Glencores, the Vales, the BHPs of the world, they're making 3X, so you really want to be in that business. And what's interesting about this relationship is that potentially we can get into that business down the road with CVMR, and certainly that would be the goal. So it's an interesting opportunity for us. It's certainly a validation of the success we've had at the drill bit so far, and we think it's the start of the world understanding how potentially commercially valuable this project is.
Absolutely. Best of luck to you, Terry. I would have to say it must feel pretty darn empowering to have that company have the spotlight on you. Terry Lynch, CEO and president of Power Nickel. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing your exciting story here on Stocks to Watch with Global One Media. We look forward to sharing additional updates.
All right. Good talking to you, Ashley. Have a great day.